honor to be at AUI and see the fruit of our conversations and discussions over many, many months on this conference. Again, my name is Emad Tinawi. I'm the Executive Director of Engage AI and one of the sponsors. Engage AI just is a non-for-profit organization, so we are technically not a business. Not technically, actually not a business. We are a group of development professionals who are interested in addressing development challenges. Those of us who work in development for many, many, many years understand how hard development is, how difficult. There's no linear progression. It's not a one-step process. So that's who Engage AI, the people of Engage AI are looking at solutions, trying to figure out how do we address some of the intractable human solutions. You would think that by now poverty should have been a thing of the past, education, healthcare, some of the intractable issues. And what really Engage AI is all about is trying to find new solutions, leveraging AI. It's not saying the other solutions are not necessary, they are necessary, but we're adding another layer, we're bringing in another tool, another arrow in your quiver, if you will, in terms of trying to address how do we figure out environmental issues, how do we figure out school issues. I mean, it's still, I find it staggering that we can get a man to the moon and we still have children in the United States who are thinking about school lunches. You know, I mean, it's mind-boggling. So that's what Engage AI is about, is trying to figure out those AI tools that we can bring specifically to the development context, and not just look at commercial application. Commercial applications are important. We're happy the companies are doing it. We're happy they're employing people, but we also want some of the energy to go into addressing development challenges, right? There are a lot of wonderful things about how AI can tell us about certain things, but we want to bring out to the center of the discussion development challenges. Again, when I was introduced to President Amin by a mutual friend, Barbara Brittingham, who is also a very strong friend of AUI and very strong friend of Morocco, and I was telling President Amin we're searching for new models of tackling development challenges, looking at not just data, predictive analytics, looking at AI. Are there ways we can utilize them more so that the development professionals are just as versatile and familiar with these tools, and we are not kind of an afterthought, right? We are not an afterthought of development. Or somebody developed a wonderful machine and say, oh, let's see if we can apply it in a development context. So I was telling the president this is who we are, and he says, oh, Morocco is going through this new development model discussion. We are going through extensive consultation. I went back and did a lot of research. Like, wow, this is amazing, the amount of consultation for the new development model, the grassroots, the thousands of meetings, the thousands of discussion. And we started having discussion. And when I told President Amin, I said, we're trying to figure out research and come up with a project on AI for development. His first question is, what does that mean for Morocco? What does that mean for Ifrane? It's like immediate, like straight around. He said, well, tell me what it means for us. You know, and that's really how started the genesis of this conference. You know, in terms of focusing on Morocco and Morocco's development. So again, I want to put that as a kind of, not a chapeau, but kind of a framing for the discussion in terms of the development priorities. But if I may, I just want to take a couple of minutes to step back and put sort of the larger development context of this conference that is at the background of everything we're trying to do. Even prior to the pandemic, the world was falling behind in terms of its 2030 agenda. We were not going to achieve the 2030 agenda. Now we have an excuse, COVID. We say, oh, okay, it's COVID, it's COVID. We were going to get there, but COVID got in the way. But the reality is we were not. As a lot of our UN colleagues will tell you, we were not on track. And we are not just not on track, we were not on track, but there seem to be persistent problems that we are not able to address. There is a persistent deepening global inequality, right? There are billions of people still not getting nutrition. There are, again, I'm not gonna, we have quite a few of our colleagues here from the UN. I use a lot of their reports and a lot of their research, so I'm not gonna regurgitate a lot of the numbers, but we have this problem. But what I found interesting, at least in a 2020 report by UNDESA, saying these are not just trends. These are not just trends. They seem to be endemic, an endemic feature of globalization, the current form of globalization. The current form of globalization. Again, this is not an argument against globalization, but saying the way currently we're operating, these problems are not likely to address. The environmental issues, we are heading in the wrong direction. And really, this is addressing these challenges requires utilizing all the tools we have and adding to it, and figuring out a new way of looking at it. And furthermore, and this is what's important, there are two things. Unfortunately, our problems are no longer just local problems. The environmental issues are not local problems anymore. We can try to devise projects, promote things, but they are not just local problems. So we need new ways, new tools that will allow us to figure out, okay, how do we combine a focus on local issues and bringing in new tools, learning from the global and regional experiences, try to address some of the challenges in terms of the water resource issues. And in some ways, the governor really gave what I think is a beautiful example of how you start at the heart of things, start from the bottom, and then you build up gradually in terms of the solution. And one of the things we're hoping to do at Engage AI is to map the SDGs. We are still trying, everybody is trying to map the SDGs, and there's quite a bit of academic research in terms of mapping the impact of the SDGs or the interplay between the various SDGs. From our perspective at Engage AI and my colleagues is that we need to look at the local level. That mapping it at a global level is not gonna give us the kind of tool that the governor was talking about, which is, okay, now I understand the problem, how do I allocate my resources, right? We understand what's the impact, what's the interplay between poverty, education, employment, the environment. How do I allocate my $1 million among all these priorities, among all these goals? And in some ways, this is a local conversation, but it's also a global conversation, a regional and global conversation. And we're hoping this conference will be one spark, one catalyst, one engagement in terms of trying to understand these issues from a local perspective, and then see if we can also learn from a regional perspective as well.